Booze and boards, boards and booze. Bad guys at large, it's bad news. No beer this time, so we won't lose. We found their lair, they'll pay their dues. The town is saved, so now we booze. Booze and boards, boards and booze. With Mickey and Jeb.
Hey, Mickey, we got a monumental task ahead of us.
Wow.
And I'm not talking about lifting the box up.
Oh, gosh. I voted that we don't do stupid intros anymore, but then then I'm working with this guy. See? Never lets it go. So I guess I'll just have to think of something stupid to do next time.
Yep. Alright, so today we are doing Monumental.
You said it as a question. The box is right there, you dummy.
I don't know what I was thinking.
You literally said that like, we're doing Monumental, Mickey? I think so. No, Jeb, we're going to do Starcadia Quest with a Monumental box.
Was this the stupid intro or the thing before?
I don't know, but you just made it worse.
Alright, today we're doing Monumental. It is
a game?
A board game. A Kickstarter that Mickey backed, right? No? Yes?
Just go with it.
Mickey backed this when it was on Kickstarter because he got he's got the expansion thing too. Pull that over, Mickey. So here's the expansion to it. I guess I'm doing the intro today.
Yeah, because I can't even with him.
So it is a FunForge game. You cannot have 0 to 3 babies, apparently. And I don't see the name of the person. Oh, Matthew Dunstan is the designer. So I don't see a time limit on here, although it is...
a time limit?
Or the time. Yeah, time.
Time limit? You're only allowed to play this for 10 minutes and then you have to put it away.
So help me if you have a baby.
Yeah. And if you have more than 3 babies, forget it. Alright.
So it is a little bit of a longer game. It's not going to go by really quick because there is tile control and deck building and all that stuff.
Yeah, but it's not hour and a half?
But it's not like a 20-minute.
No, it's not. It is not Star Realms. Right. But like Jeb was saying, it is a deck builder with a actual board game component, which is basically an area control conquering type of mechanic. And if that sounds weird, you just need to watch a little bit longer because you just need to. It's pretty cool.
And the cool thing is it's different factions. So you control one faction when you're playing the game, and it's like kind of like historical groups or whatever, because it's kind of like civilizations being built up because there's different ages during the game. So you have like there's Japanese, Chinese, Egyptian,
the Greeks.
I think what is it?
I don't even know. What do we have?
I know in the expansion there's Atlantis.
We have China, we have Denmark, we have Egypt, Greece, and Japan in the base box.
And then in that one there's the Atlanteans and I forgot the name of that other group. That's gonna annoy me until you say
You annoy me, but we don't get rid of you, do we?
No.
New civilizations are Aztecs. Amazons.
Is
that it? Mughals?
Moguls. Right.
And
Atlanteans.
And Atlanteans.
So there's 4 in the expansion. I thought there were 3 for some reason.
Yep.
So that's a total of what, 9 across both the base and the expansion. So there's a good amount of civilizations you can play as. We've only seen 3 of them in action, so.
Yep.
Anything else you want to say for the intro?
No, other than the fact is that, like Jeb pointed out, it was a Kickstarter that I backed, and basically the reason I did back it is A, FunForge, one of our favorite games ever, Professor Evil and the Citadel of Time was by FunForge. So when I see something by them, I check it out. Jeb's laughing at me because I said something funny.
Professor Evil and the Citadel of Evil. That's what I was going to call it until you said.
Yeah, that's because it's Jeb. He doesn't know things.
I don't.
So that made me look at it, and then when I like deck builders, I like module boards. Area control I like too most of the time because one of my favorites, and I know a lot of people hate it, but I really like Small World a lot, which is definitely an area control type of thing. So anyways, put all those things together, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna try it. So yeah, that's why it was back for me anyways. So hopefully, if you guys haven't seen this yet, stick around.
Yeah, like Mickey always says, stick around for the our actual gameplay, at least the beginning of it. But one thing to note in this is that in our recording we actually have it so you can see both of our cities. So you can actually see how it differs from just a normal deck builder. So
yeah, this
you can
one,
see all the grid.
Like sometimes we don't focus as much on like the markets and stuff like that. We just tell you what we buy. This is a lot different because you don't have a hand of cards, so to speak. You kind of do, but you don't have a hand of cards that you're just
trying to
tearing through every game. There's a little bit more to it than that, and so watch a little bit if you don't want to. If you don't, if you're not going to listen to instructions or whatever, or if you watch the instructions that don't make sense, definitely watch a little bit of the game, and you'll see what we're talking about and how the board actually interacts with a deck builder, so to speak.
Yep.
So some very neat mechanics in the game. So if you like that kind of stuff, definitely take a look. So we'll be back in a minute with
Monumental.
Oh my gosh.
You can't spell monumental without you.
No, we will be back in a minute with components, and then we will do setup and mechanics.
I wanted to do the thing with the U and the pointing.
No, we're leaving now. So we are back with the components to Monumental. Don't be scared. This actually isn't as overwhelming as it might look like.
Right.
Honestly.
It's actually really well organized.
Yes, it very much is. So, all right, go for it, Jeb. What do we got?
All right, so the rulebook doesn't really have it set up in order, so I guess I'll just start picking stuff. Is that good?
Sure, whatever you want, Jeb.
All right, let's start with the map tiles.
All right, so map tiles. There's all kinds of different map tiles. Ones that really stick out would be these, though. Those are for your capitals, or whatever they call it, capital territories. But then, so the map tiles are all different varieties. You can see there's different artwork, and then there's water. Water is basically just a blocking mechanism, so to speak, in the core game. We don't know about the expansions, but important thing to note is basically there are little numbers in one spot of the tiles. So there's a 2 and there's a 1. Those will come into play during the game, so that's important. And then the back are just plain. So and there are various configurations that are suggestion, and I think there's a way to do it random too, isn't there? Do you have
yeah, this is a book that comes with the game that has different setups for different player counts.
Right.
So, all right. Next up.
Yep. Go ahead.
Oh, next up are the.
Pick a component, Jeb. Anything you want.
All right, civilization cards. So there are, I think, 5 different civilizations in the base game.
Okay, so the civilization cards. Civilization cards come with 1 warlord, 3 or 5 cultural policies is what they're called. They have a different back. They look like this. And then 15 specific to your civilization. There's a little bit hard to see. You probably can't see it by me pointing, but there is a symbol up in the top left-hand corner that's unique to each different civilization.
I think it's that symbol.
It is that symbol.
For this civilization.
Correct. So that makes it easy at the end of the game to re-separate it. But everybody starts with the same thing, 5 cultural policies, 15 civilization cards, and there are a couple unique things. Well, the cultural policies are very unique, but there's a couple unique cards in your deck, 2 per civilization.
Yep. And speaking of civilization, there's other things that will come with each civilization. So we talked about the cards. There are also the units, which consist of 1 warlord and 9 soldiers, and 2 explorers and 2 outposts.
Okay, so I'm going to point to the top row here. So this is a warlord, kind of the big figure for the row. His 9 warriors, his 2 outposts are nicely packed there. And then down at the bottom, no?
I think the entire bottom row is the...
That's what I thought.
Yeah, these are all the explorers, because it's in sets of 2s for each civilization.
So, that's... The explorers look different, but both of the explorers look the same per your civilization. All of the outposts look exactly the same, so that's not hard to keep track of at all, really, though.
And then the last thing is apparently in the deluxe edition. Actually, it says the figures and the bases are deluxe edition. The colored bases are what you would use if you're playing. Well, I mean, I guess you have to play multiplayer, but you pick one and put it on the bottom of all your figures.
Yep, and there's exactly enough to do it. There's the ones for all the small figures, and then there's big ones for the warriors.
Alright, so that's everything regarding civilizations. So let's talk about era cards. And these are, I guess, developmental cards that are separated by era.
Right. So there are, in this game, there are 3. There's 1, 2, and 3 different eras.
4th.
There is, don't give away secrets. Alright, we'll show them. There's 1 more, but if you just play the base game...
I think it's in that other stack.
Jeb put it in the other stack, but it's not. It's right there.
It's not. It's there. Okay. It's the Renaissance is the 4th one.
Right. Okay.
And that can be used to extend your game if you want.
Yeah. So these are basically all the cards that you're going to use to build the market during this game. And they do have, again, top, upper left corner, there's like a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or an R. And the back of the card is exactly the same because these get shuffled into your deck, so they can't mark them back there. Right. So these you actually have to search. The top probably could have colored that a little bit better, but it's not awful.
Nope. Alright, so I think that's all of the cards. So let's talk about, I guess
There's 1 more card, cheat sheets.
Oh, cheat sheets. Excuse me.
These are like the fighting things and the knowledge thing.
Oh, now you're sounding like me.
And the other cultural policies.
They are basic resources, Mickey. How did you not know that?
I don't know, Jeb.
So those are the basic resources, and there are 3 different colors. And I won't say them because Mickey will get mad.
You can look in the book, Jeb.
No.
Well, I know blue is knowledge, and
I was going to say magic, and you hate that.
No, it's not.
It's production, science, and military.
Oh, it's not knowledge. Okay,
Right.
So production is black, science is blue, military is red.
Yep.
Okay.
And I think the only other thing in that bag... Oh, there are some cubes that are used when you build wonders.
Yep.
They're these small orange cubes. And then the sport tracker tokens, which I think was a Kickstarter unlock. Each civilization has a token that they can put on the scoreboard and keep track of their points at the end of the game.
This is just a little helper tool for the end of the game. Alright, that's it for those.
Yep.
Those little...
And then we talked about basic resources. There's 1, or I guess 2 other resources that aren't really basic. They're additional resources.
Jeb is kind of basic.
Right, so the other 2 are gold and culture.
Oh, we have 3, Jeb.
Oh. I guess that other one represents...
Exactly, but it's still a permanent.
Yeah.
Alright, so I have gold, and this is also a production token. There is a difference between
The black token.
The black and this token, and then, as Jeb said, this is the cultural token. So those are, that's it for token stuff. In terms of what you play with, there's a few more components, though.
Yep. There are development cards that are wonders, and they represent wonders of the world, and these tokens are what those cards will put on the board.
Right.
So you have a bunch of those.
So just for an example, like this is Notre Dame, and stuff that I can't say, Stonehenge, and the International Space Station. So anyways, that's kind of some of the stuff you can build during the game.
Yep. And then there are these other tokens. There are Barbarian Tokens, and...
So these are Barbarian Tokens, and they have, well, they're kind of in... I didn't pick a good selection here. I got all number 2s, because I just did.
Nice.
But anyways, there's 1s, 2s, and 3s, I think, of the Barbarians. So.
And then there are... Is that the cities?
It is.
Or markets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
There are market tokens, and I believe there's multiple for each town or whatever.
Right.
So
there's enough for when you're playing with 4 people, because there's the number of players, there are the number of these on the space that they get put. So there's plenty of these.
And the last one, I can't find the name of it.
That was a free market or something, right?
Yeah, it's like the free town, free market or something like that. Yeah, as long as it doesn't have the barbarian. Yeah, so for example, that one has 2 science.
Yes.
2 science on it. The barbarians actually have the like warriors on them, so you can see the difference.
There's one with 2 gold, 2 production.
Yeah.
And 2 gold, 3 gold on that one. So anyways, those are the different pieces.
Yep. And I think that covers everything for the base game. And if you are curious with what Mickey got with like the expansion stuff, it's a bunch of hero figures, and there are some hero cards that go with them. They're down in there. I won't mess anything else up of Mickey's. But yeah, that's the rest of what comes in the Kickstarter box. So I think that's everything for components, and we will come back with setup.
Alright, so we're going to show you setup now. We're only going to set up for one person because it's
the same for each player.
It's exactly the same for each player. So you know, the most important part is knowing what components you get and how to get going, and then and we'll show you one of the options for a 2-player map. If you want to get you can look at the other one if you have the game, or like I said, there's options to put things together yourself, but we'll build the map that we're going to play the 2-player game on. There's a map.
There you go.
Map is built, again, the map is in the book, so you didn't need to sit there and watch us put it together. We just literally looked at the picture and put it on the board. Now the rest of it we're going to show you how to do.
Yes, because there are specific things.
That's right.
Alright, so I believe every tile that is not a capital or mountain or water gets these production tokens.
Alright, so all of those have the production tokens. I think they're called production tokens.
Yep, and then next up you're going to randomize all your barbarians. So there's 1s, 2s, and 3s. And according to the map, we'll put them out, and we won't walk through. They'll be there.
Just like that? Look at it's populated.
There's such a mess on the side of the board, on the table.
Exactly. So, anyways, again, the stuff that we just put on the map is based on the picture in the book to set up the map. So, there wasn't any point in you guys watching us put them down one by one. We just followed the instructions. But we'll point out a few things like we mentioned, like we showed you earlier. Barbarian tokens are on the board. The production tokens are on the board, which you saw. But now there are two marketplaces, which we touched on. The marketplaces are on the mountains. There are 2 tokens because it's going to be a 2-player game. If there were 3 players, there would be 3. If there's 4 players, there would be 4. All right. And then the did we get that right? Are they free markets? Is that
I think they're called free towns.
Free towns.
Because there's no barbarians ruling them.
I got you. Free towns. Those are in these 2 spaces on either side of the board. So again, based on the map selection, we set up the tokens. The map has magically slid over.
Yep.
So we can show you more.
Alright, so the next thing after you build the map and set everything up the way it says in the book, like we talked about, we are going to, I guess it says to put all your other tokens in piles on the side, so that's kind of similar to all other games. Yeah. The next thing you are going to do is take the developmental cards and separate them by era and shuffle them.
Which we've already done.
Yeah.
But we will show you real quick. And we will not be using the Renaissance era, so those cards will come out. They are progressively a little bit smaller.
Yep. And what it says is to start with the era 3, shuffle those, put them on the bottom, then place the era 3 card on top of them. Then shuffle the 2 era 2 cards, put it on top of the era 3, and then put the 2 on top of that pile.
So, era 3, the 3 card, the 2s, and the 2.
And then
make that a little neater.
Shuffle the 1s and put the 1
ones. I've shuffled everything. I have now built the stack.
And do not shuffle that stack.
Right.
And you will just place it. This is the development deck. You'll place it to the side of the play area. One thing to note, the Renaissance, we set those cards aside. The way those work is you would put them underneath the era 3 cards.
It just makes for a longer game.
Yep. Alright, next you are going to build the basic building card piles. So in this game there are 3 basic buildings, and you will separate them and just put them off to the side. Those can be purchased at any point on a player's turn, so they're just kind of...
So like other deck builders, there's a market that is fixed, so to speak.
And we will move all of this off to the side for now, because the next thing you're going to do is set up your city.
Alright, so when Jeb talks about this city, this is what each player is going to have in front of them.
Yep, so Mickey is going to be the pharaoh, or the Egyptians, I guess, is the civilization. So he needs 15 civilization cards. He needs 5 cultural policies, 1 warlord, 10 units, which is a warlord, 2 soldiers, 2 explorers, 2 outposts, and all of the bases on them, which he already put. All unused civilizations are just returned to the box, so the other player is going to do the exact same. They pick their civilization. What you're going to do next is shuffle your civilization cards. So the set of 15 cards, your 15 basic cards pretty much, shuffle them to make your deck. And then you're going to deal out a grid, a 3x3 grid, and this is going to be your city.
Right. So somewhere in front of you, this is what you're going to build, and then I'll just mention this game is kind of a room hog. Just so you know, you kind of need a pretty decent sized area.
Yeah.
Particularly if you start getting 3-4 players, it's hoggy enough with 2. So,
yep.
All right. So,
and the key to building your city is from the top left to the bottom right. So as Mickey's doing, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is a special exception. If you ever flip over one of these blue cards, the next card you put on top of it, if the next card is a blue card, which I don't think happens in any of the basic cards, you would have to discard one of them, but it's not going to happen in setup.
And then this would be your draw pile.
Yep.
Off the side here. However, wherever you want to keep it, I mean, I usually had mine off to the side actually, like, well, probably on this side. Doesn't really matter. Whatever your table allows for, you have your draw pile.
You're going to have the draw pile, and then there will be a discard pile, so make room for that too. Next, you're going to place your Warlord card face up beside your city. So once again, wherever is convenient for you. And then your cultural policy cards will be face down beside your city. And whenever you unlock them, they will be flipped up. Each one will be.
I like to put mine just like right under my Warlord with like kind of maybe, you know, peeking out so that I don't forget they're there. Again, that was just to save room. You can do it however you want. You can go like this, push these up. But again, just remember, you know, you need room for a discard pile, and these will eventually flip over, but they stack on top of each other, things like that. So.
Alright, so once you do that, each player is going to take 2 gold and put them in your supply. So Mickey starts with 2 gold. And then the player, the way you pick first player, it says, is whoever visited a foreign country last. Pick first player however you want, is our thought. And then after that, whoever the starting player is, from the last person in turn order, you are going to proceed counterclockwise and choose your capital tile. So this is another thing where Mickey and I we were like, for table sake, convenience. Yeah. He's sitting there, I'm sitting there, so we just pick those.
Right.
But if you're playing competitively and you...
Well, and I think also it has to do when you start randomizing your map, because this is perfectly symmetric. Like, it doesn't matter what side, like, this is the same as this is the same as this, so there's literally no difference. So we are going to, you know, I'm not going to stretch across the table to start the game.
Right.
So I'm going to choose this capital, Jeb.
Alright, so you're going to place all the players are going to place their warlords and soldiers and explorers on your capital tile. With the figures, you're not going to fit everything.
So I just try to get as many figures on there. Figures go off the side. But it's important to note that all the warriors literally are on the capital. The outposts are kind of off to the side.
The explorers are on the...
They're on the capital too, so...
Yep. Alright, so that's player setup. So now we have to do the development display. Alright, so the development display. So this is the development deck. You can have it wherever is convenient for you. What you're going to do is draw the top 6 cards and put them face up in a row beside the deck to create the development display. The error cards are not part of the display.
No. It actually says, like, the person that does it takes the error card too, or something like that, and that was like, why? So anyhow.
So there are 2 key differences between a 2-player game and then every other kind of game.
Yeah.
So in every other kind of game, you would do 6 cards in a row. In a 2-player game, you do 3 cards, and then below that, 3 cards.
Right.
So that's kind of a way to even the timing out for a 2-player game. So since Mickey and I are going to be playing a 2-player game, we'll set that up. So we go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Just remember, that's totally separate from, this is a player area.
Yep.
This is the market area for everybody. And those other cards that we showed you that were
the
buy always, or however you want to say it.
They're just off to the side.
Fixed market, they don't change. They're always available for purchase. Those are off to the side.
Alright, and that's everything on how to set up. Alright, a quick overview of a turn. Starting with the first player, you're going to be going in clockwise. Rounds aren't super important until the end of the game, so just kind of remember who's first player. We're saying Mickey's first player, I'm second player. So first player, what they would do on their turn is 1, activate the city, 2, take all their actions. 3, replenish the city. And then 4, replenish the display. So that's a quick overview of a turn. So we're going to go through each of those things. So the first thing is activate a city.
Alright, so the way that you activate a city is you pick a horizontal row and a vertical row, and you activate them. And you activate them by turning the card sideways. So I can take this horizontal row and activate that, and then I have to pick a vertical row. So let's just we'll go down this side like that. All right, so that's how you activate. So you'll always have 4 cards that you didn't turn during activation.
Yep, and then part of this step is once you activate those cards, you immediately gain the resources that are shown in the top right. So you ignore effects right now. At this point, all you're doing is gaining what's in the top right.
All right, which is kind of leads us into the structure of a card in this game. So your cards have a name up in the top left. They have whatever resource they produce in the top right. As you buy cards, they may or may not do that in the top right. Down in the bottom would be where you would find any special abilities. And
cards in the market, in the bottom left is how much it costs to make them. How much
to buy them.
Yeah, it's either production or science, which are used to buy cards.
Right.
And then the only special ones are wonders, where they have a double cost, and we can go over that in a second.
So cost of that are production tokens, and the cost of that are the science tokens to get the knowledge cards. So, alright, so in this particular case, and what I just did, I would gain one knowledge, or science rather. Okay. I would gain 1, 2, 3 of the production ones, and 1 of the military.
And this is the point where we should say that those resources are cannot be saved for later. Like, those will go away at the end of your turn. However, the gold tokens and then these production tokens will stay past your turn.
Okay. So now once I gain all the production tokens, then I can jump into you're using abilities and taking actions.
Well, that's
right. So like this card has an ability, and of course my knowledge card up here has one too. This says pay 2 basic resources to gain 1 gold. Again, as Jeb mentioned, these are the 3 basic resources, so I could pay those two different ones to get a gold, because gold is a wild card. You can use it for anything except any basic ones. So you can't use it for the culture. Alright, and let's see what my ability is on this card. This one says, when you archive this card, build a wonder section for free. This is my specific to the Egyptians. This is called Pharaoh's Barge. So whatever Jeb plays won't have that card in his deck.
And that brings up a mechanic in the game, archiving. Right. And when you archive a card, you have to pick one that has not been activated, and you remove it from the game. Right. So it's like a regular deck builder when you remove from play, or when you're thinning your deck.
Yep. Okay.
Alright, so the take actions phase, there are a lot of different types of things you can do during this phase. So, like Mickey said, using the effects on your cards that you activated. Another thing you can do is acquire development cards or basic building cards. So that's purchasing anything from the development display or the basic always buy from piles.
Right. So, as an example, this this costs 3 production. So you take these 3, put them back in the supply, and I can just take this card.
Where does that card go?
This card goes directly to the top of my draw pile.
Yep.
Okay, so that's a little bit different. A lot of deck builders go right into the discard. In this game, however, it goes right to the top. So whatever you buy is going to come out immediately your next turn. Right, so that would go on the top. I could... is that all I can do with production?
So Mickey doesn't have enough science to get a one of these cards because they cost 4 science. I would say put that back in the development display so we can talk about the next thing, which are wonder cards. So wonder cards is kind of like they're a 2-step process. So like Mickey had bought this one for 3, this Colossus of Rhodes or the Great Wall costs 3 to buy from the development display. So say Mickey wants
wonder, I will pay the 3 production.
Yep.
I build the first stage. Those are what those are, the first stages. So I put it off to the side. I take one of these yellow cubes and I just put it on to show that I have built one stage. And then that doesn't do anything until I actually build it.
As you can see, that's where Mickey placed the cube for the wonder. So wonders are different in the sense that they do not go on top of your deck when you take them from the development display. Okay. However, another action you can do is completing a wonder. So to do that, what would you need to do?
I have to pay 3 more production, which I don't have right now. But as a side note, yes, you can build and complete if you have the resources all in the same turn. So pretending that I paid another 3, this would be built. So I remove this cube. There is a instant symbol on the card, which is a little lightning bolt, which means I get that immediately. When built, I gain 2 military. So I would gain these 2 red chips if I built this, and then this would go directly onto the top of my draw deck.
The other thing with wonders is you would take the corresponding wonder token and place it on a tile that you control. So right now, Mickey couldn't really complete the Great Wall because he doesn't control any spaces. Right. So that's one thing to remember. It's kind of further along in the game when you can start actually putting wonders on the board. Alright, so the next thing you can do is develop a cultural policy.
Okay, so the cultural policies.
So we haven't, there's nothing like to start, I think there's one card out of everybody's deck that kind of lets you get it, but it hasn't come out for Mickey right now.
So I have a card in my deck that says archive a card or pay 2 different basic resources to gain a culture.
Yep, so if he had used that effect and gained a culture, he would take a culture token and place it in his resource pile.
Alright, so we're going to talk about the culture tokens now, and we're going to pretend that I had one of these. Some of these, there are bonuses on the barbarians. Sometimes they can give you one of these. There's other ways in the game, such as that card right there, that you can get these. But anyways, the cultures there are 5 cards, and they get progressively more expensive, but they're not individually marked as how much they are. So in other words, all of them show a picture of the culture token with a 1 through 5. So the way this works is, okay, I want a culture policy. Alright, so I spend the 1, and I get to pick up the whole pile, and I get to decide which one I think would be best. And this is kind of important because when you get more, the ability of the one that you have in play goes away, and we'll show you that in a minute. So I'm just gonna pick one. I'm gonna pick this one called Expansion. So I'll put this back. So let's pretend that I've bought this with my culture token, and then Expansion says the first time I gain a Barbarian token, which is one of those, each turn I gain both bonuses. they have bonuses on the back of them, and they're a choice. There's either or. So this card allows me to get both. It also has an instant effect, and it says take one basic building. The basic buildings are those ones down at the bottom there, if you can see them, that are just the all the ones that aren't in the marketplace, so to speak. So I just get to gain one of these. So right to the top of my deck. Okay. However, let's say we are 10 turns into the game, and I've earned, now I have 2 of these that I've earned, and I want to get another cultural policy. I would spend the 2, put them back in the supply, pick up the pile again, because now it costs 2, and I pick one. And let's take, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to take guilds. And this one says, copy the effect of 1 knowledge card you activated this turn. Now that's not bad. My instant effect is archive 1 card. Alright, so now what happens when you get your next one is you place it on top, and then you immediately resolve both of the instances, the instant abilities now. So I get to archive a card, and I get to take a basic building.
Yep.
So, and that happens every single time. So the next culture policy is going to cost 3. I play it, I get all the instant effects. The next one's going to cost 4. I play it, I get all the instant effects again. However, what I don't get is any of these abilities that are covered up. I only have the top one.
Yep.
And that's how the cultural policies work.
Next thing you can do is conquer a province.
Alright. Conquering a province. So, to conquer a province, you need to be adjacent to wherever you're going to conquer into, or have, and adjacency is basically adjacent to a tile you control. So at the beginning of the game, all you control is your capital. So these are adjacent to me right now, and this is how conquering works. So each land has a defensive value on the tile. Okay, so this one's 1, this one's 0, and this one's 2. I look at the defensive value of the land, and I look at the defensive value of whatever else is on it that has, like the barbarians have an attack value. All your figures have an inherent attack value, and the wonders have a defensive value, and the outposts have a defensive value. So anyways, in the most simple terms, you add up however strong it is. So this is a 1, this is a 2, this has a defense of 3. So I have to have 3 power to go in and beat it.
So Mickey wants to conquer that. He knows that it is a 3 defensive value, so he needs 3 I guess military value to take it over. So he needs to pay 3 military resources. Well, he only has 1 military resource, but gold counts as anything. So there's his 3. So he pays the 3, and that means he can move 3 figures into that that space. And when I say figures, I mean only the warlord and the soldiers, not the wanderer dudes or the travelers
or the outposts.
Explorer dudes. Yeah.
Outposts don't move.
Right. So he moved his warlord and 2 soldiers in. So once he conquers that, he is going to take that barbarian token.
Not this.
Right. Takes the barbarian token, flips it over, and
look.
it has gold 1, and then below a line it says move each explorer 1 tile.
Yep.
So the way it works is he would have to choose one of those effects to gain. He, however, has like a cultural policy that if that was in effect, he could get both of those on the first one he gets. But right now he doesn't. So.
I don't have that right now. So I'm gonna choose to move each explorer. So I will put 1 explorer here, and I'll put 1 explorer here.
Yep. So that's everything for conquering a tile. So that barbarian token he just got the effect from, he would keep it next to him just for, I think there are some cards that play off of those later. So
just keep this in your stash. So just to recap real quick, look at the defense of where you're going in, and then you have to spend that much military, that meaning red or gold or some combination of that or some kind of power, and then you have to be able to move in that many figures.
Yep. If he could only move 2 into a 3 defensive place, he can't conquer it.
All right. Also pay attention. Most of your warlord or your that's what are they warlords?
Warlords, yeah.
Most of your warlords have an ability. So my warlord says the first time Ramses conquers a province each turn, I gain 2 production. That was the first time that this guy conquered something this turn, so I gain 2 production.
All right, so a quick expansion on this topic. If Mickey wants to take over that one area that has 2 warlord, right there, yep, he would pay 3 red, or 3 military resources, or whatever combination, to take it over, and then he would move 3 figures in. So he actually has some options when doing this. He could take 3 from his capital. He can take 3 from any space in any combination as long as there is a way to connect to the place he's taking over.
Right. So there's no so movement when you're conquering, as long as you have a some kind of line through territories that you control, then you can move directly in. So let's pretend I can conquer this. What Jeb's saying is I can just take these 3 because I control this area and just move them there.
Yep, that's one way to do it.
That's one way to do it. If, you know, I could just move this guy in and then I can take 2 instead.
Yep.
That's a combination. I could take 2 from that space, leave the warlord, because maybe I'm saying to myself, well, he already attacked, what difference does it make? And perhaps I want him to stay there for defensive purposes because his defense is a little higher, and then I can take 1 from over there.
Yep.
However, what I cannot do is take everything off of space and move it in. Once you control an area, you cannot, on your own, empty it out, or
you have to leave 1 behind.
You can't retreat from an area, however you want to say it. You have to leave 1 behind. Now, somebody could have a war against you and kick it off and then take control of it, but you can't voluntarily remove all your figures from a spot. Yep. These guys are not warriors.
They have nothing to do with it.
They have nothing to do with that.
All right. Could you put 3 of those guys in that space we were talking about from your capital?
In what space?
The one that we were just talking about.
Oh, you want me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
all right.
Pretend board here going on.
Yep. Okay. So there's a couple of other things you can do on your turn that involve the soldiers that you may or may not do during the game. For the cost of 1 military, you can take 1 soldier or warlord and move him, as long as you can get to the space through your own conquered spaces, to another space. So it costs 1 military resource to move 1 military person to any space within your conquering territory. So if Mickey wanted to, he could pay 1 to move that guy there. Or he could do whatever combination.
As long as I don't empty the space.
Yep. So just keep in mind that that's an option of something you can do. Another thing he can do is if he has 3 military figures in 1 space, he can create an outpost.
Right. So in this case, I actually can take all 3 of these off because I'm going to put an outpost. And that is legal because I'm not giving up control of the land that I had conquered.
Let's pretend this isn't here.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And then the 3 that he took off for that go back to his capital.
All right, and you can do that in any combination. Like if I had this totally stacked with a whole bunch, I could have just taken 3 off and then put an outpost. Just to note though, you have 2 outposts, and they they sit. You can't hop them around. Once you place it, it's there until it gets destroyed anyways.
And one thing that I didn't realize that Mickey pointed out to me is that tile with the warlord and 2 soldiers, you can pick all 3 of them up to put an outpost there.
That's correct.
So it's not just limited to soldiers.
That's correct. What about the explorers, Jeb?
All right, that's actually the next thing on the list. So the explorers, the way they work is to move them 1 space, you have to pay 1 military resource. So Mickey was actually really lucky with that barbarian he conquered. He got to move him without having to pay that resource. The way the explorers work is they can move however much you can pay them to move on their turn. They can move into any territories except water and capitals.
Even enemy stuff.
Yep. The other thing to know about the explorers is once per turn, they can activate on a space. And what does activate mean?
Okay, so they can activate one of 2 things. They can either pick up one of these production tokens, or if they are standing in a market, they can pick up all the market tokens, look at them, and pick one, and then put the remaining one back.
And then you get the effect of the one that you picked.
And then you get the effect of the one that you picked. So, you know, I just take this. Important note, I don't think we talked about it, but tokens are permanent. These all go away at the end of your turn.
Yep.
Just as a reference.
And the way the cities work is when you pick that token, you flip it face up and put it in your resource pool, and it'll stay there until you decide to spend
use it. And then it becomes, if it is these things, and it becomes these things.
Yep. All right, and then the last couple things, one of them we talked about is just using the effect on any of your cards that you activated.
I had a question. The explorers are different from the warriors in terms of they don't get that straight line ability, right?
Correct. You have to pay 1 to move 1 space.
Right, that's what I thought.
You can activate your cultural policy, whichever one is active. You can activate that during your turn. And the last thing you can do is make scientific progress. And that's one that Mickey and I kind of forgot about.
Our very first game that we had totally, we read it and then totally forgot about it. So if I have 2 science tokens, resources rather, if I have 2 science and perhaps there's nothing to buy and I know these are going to go away, I can spend these 2, draw the top card, and immediately use it. So in this case, I draw the top card. It provides 2 military.
You would discard the card?
I discard it because the city's already built.
Yep.
I get 2 military. Come over here, and look, now I have abilities to the ability to do something again. Perhaps I oh, perfect, 2 military. That's the land here is a 0. That barbarian's a 2. I have 2 military. I will spend them. I will move in two guys, and I get another barbarian for this turn. It gives me a production or a gold. I'm going to be like, I got plenty of production, I think, right now. I am going to take a gold, because gold I can save from turn to turn, and it equals anything I want it to equal. And I would flip that over and probably try to spend the rest of my production on something in there or one of the basic cards.
All right, so before we move on to the next phase, we do want to talk about free towns.
Right.
And these are tiles that do not have warlords on them, but they do have tokens. So right there is our example. It says 2 gold on it. So how would you take over a free town?
The way that you do a free town is you look at whatever the military is, which in this case it's a 0. You look at how much what the value of this is, and you have to pay whatever this is, plus you have to do whatever the military part of it is.
Yep.
So in this case, it doesn't cost any military, but I still have to pay 2 coins. This is the worst example on this map because it's a zero cost. So how do you
move in
nothing? Right. Are you allowed to move in nothing? Based on our logic, Jeb and I decided, and we're going to talk about this, and since we're going to play this map, this is why we need to talk about it. So we were like, well, the rules are, if you control something, you have to have a figure in there, and you can't purposely leave something.
And the way the book says to take over Freetown is you pay military equal to what's on the tile and move that many soldiers or warlord or whatever into it. So if it was a 1, you would pay 1 military and move 1 soldier and pay the 2 gold. That makes sense.
Right. So with everything except the 0, it really makes sense. But seeing as it's nothing, but you still are taking control of it, we said that you still need to put a guy in there. The bonus of it being 0 is it didn't cost you a military. So I have a gold, but I wanted to save this for next turn. I don't have a military, so perfect. I get to go in there.
He'd have to pay 2 gold.
I pay the 2 gold, which I don't have either, but we're just pretending right now. And I flip it over, and hey, look, I get cultural policy, or I can have 3 matching basic resources. And if I took that, I would probably take the cultural policy.
So we know how it would work on a 1 or a 2 or a 3 tile.
Right.
For the 0 tile, we weren't really able to find any conclusive evidence online. So if you know otherwise, please let us know. But the way we ended up playing it was, like Mickey said, you just get to move 1 free guy into it.
If for some reason it worked the other way and you just took that, like say the thematic part of it was I ran in and then I ran back out. I picked up the token and I ran back. So nobody was ever in there. So at that point, then it's just a free territory for somebody to move into anyways. I don't have to pay anything and I can move something in.
You can only move your military among places you've already conquered. So not having it means you haven't conquered it.
Well, that's true too. So you can't do that. So it makes even more sense that you have to put something in there.
Yeah.
All right. So anyhow.
All right. That's the end of our thoughts on it.
And that's the way we played it.
Yep.
Okay. So now that you have the basics of how the military works and conquering regular spaces on words, what happens if your opponent is in one of those spaces. So we're making up another scenario here, and we're saying that Jeb has his warlord standing in this space. Each of the figures and the wonders has a defensive value. So an outpost is a 3, a warlord is a 2, all the soldiers are a 1.
Explorers don't matter.
Yep, they don't matter at all. And all the wonders are a 2.
Yep.
Okay? So if there's enemies in there, you do it exactly the same. Add up the defensive power. So warlord is 2. This land is a 2. So I have to spend 4 military to go in there. I pretend I spent the 4 red or a combination of red and gold, and I take 4 of my characters. I plop them in the land. Jeb removes his, goes back to his capital. They don't go out of the game or anything.
Yep.
And then my guys just sit there. So maybe I'm like, I don't want Jeb to do that again. And now maybe it's the time to pull 3 back off so I have stuff to do next turn and put an outpost there. Who knows? Anyways, that's literally how easy it is for combat in this game. There's no... your opponent doesn't get to do anything back. It's just... do I have enough power or do I not have enough power?
Yep. And then another example really quick is, say I had built a wonder on this space, and since it's one that I control, I could legally place it there. So if Mickey wanted to take over the space, he would have to add 0, 2 for the warlord, and 2 for the space station, or the wonder, I guess. So that's a total of 4.
So like Jeb said, I'd have to put 4 soldiers. I manipulated my board a little bit and pretending we were still in mid-game or whatever. So look, I don't have anything from my capital left anymore, right? Enough to do it. So I can go 2 from here, because that's got a direct line. That outpost seems pretty safe. I'll pull that guy all the way over.
And he can because of that line.
Right. So I didn't empty that, even though, because I have an outpost there. I have a line here. And, yeah, the place where my, you know what? Maybe I want to attack next turn, too. So I'm going to take my Warlord and put him all the way over there, too. There you go. 4 characters.
All right. Kicks me out.
However...
And, yeah, that is the key right there, is that wonder.
That wonder is not mine. The wonder itself isn't mine, so to speak. The territory is, and I get all the defensive benefits and stuff from it, but I don't get his card. Like, that doesn't ever swap. Yeah. He built it. It's his card. So that...
It's in my deck.
Right. It never... Like, he doesn't search through his deck and give it to me or anything like that. I just get the advantage of... Hey, I'm sitting on it and I control it right now.
Yeah, so if I want to take over that area, it's going to be 0 for the land, 2, 3, 4, 5 for his military, and then 2 for the wonder. So that's 7 to take that over. That's awful for me right now.
Sounds good to me.
So those were a couple of examples we wanted to show you.
Of moving around the board and stuff like that. And... As we say every time when we do this, if some of the stuff that we're going over here doesn't make too much sense, watch this game, 15, 20 minutes probably of it to get a good... Because, you know, it takes a little bit to start moving stuff out into the board because you got to work up your materials and everything.
Yep. All right, so the next phase, once Mickey's done doing everything he wants to do, is to replenish his city. So what he does is discard all of the cards that he activated.
And I also lose any of these that I didn't use.
Yep.
Alright, so I discard all these cards that I activated.
Yep.
And they go into the discard.
Yep. And those cards that he did not activate stay in those positions because he is going to add new cards in a specific order. So it's like when we set up the city, it's going to be top left is the first, and then he moves to the right, and then he goes to the next row and fills that in. It looks at those, and then fills that last space in.
And now that's my new city for next turn.
Yep. So if when you're refilling your city and you don't have cards to draw from, you would shuffle your discard to create your deck again. And then we mentioned it really quick before, but if you deal out a knowledge card, you would place the next card on top of it. If the next card is a knowledge card, you choose which one to discard and one to keep.
So, so just so you can visualize that, let's pretend that I have 2 knowledge cards. I'm getting ready to refill the top row. I'm not going to do everything, but just let's say I have to do the top row. Alright, and I deal this, and then I deal this, and I went, oh crap, I got 2. Which kind of stinks because at this point I have to get rid of one. And what happens is I look at both of them, I decide which one I want to keep, and I discard the other one, and then I continue to deal. Oh, good. Then this one goes on top as normal.
And the way the book actually says it is you deal out until you hit a town. So if you had dealt like 4 knowledge in a row, which is really crappy, but you would see the 4 and keep one of them.
Keep one of them, right?
Yeah.
We were just doing 2 because it's just quicker. Yeah. And that, I don't know if we even saw 3 happen, but it certainly could.
Right. Alright, so after you have built your city at the end of your turn, you are going to replenish the display. So that was actually, yeah,
that was
for
actually,
a reason. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, so the way this works is if you acquired 1 card from one of the rows, so in the 2-player version, for each row you check to see if a card was acquired. If one was, so Mickey had bought that one, you slide all the cards once or all the way down away from the deck, and then you fill in the next spot until you have your 3. For this row, Mickey didn't buy anything, so what happens is the farthest card gets discarded, these slide over, and a new card gets put in. If it was a multiplayer game, you would have just one row of 6, and you would do it the exact same way. If somebody bought, you just slide over, fill in. If that person didn't buy, knock off the last card, slide over, fill in.
Right. So, if you're getting the gist of it, they keep the game moving, so you can't basically stall the market to do other stuff on the board and then go buy, or you know, if a card that you wanted is out there and you don't have enough money for it and it's in the last spot, it's not getting played this game. So I think Jeb had a power with Chinese that allowed him to look in the discard pile and take something, but for the most part, the card, he had a wonder that did it then. But anyways, there's a rare exception that you're ever going to see the card again once it's out. So just keep that in mind when you're playing. One of the things I really liked is that setup for a 2-player game. It doesn't make the 2-player game ridiculously long. Yeah. Exactly. I don't even know what you would. You'd probably have to have a bigger board.
I feel like you'd just be going back and forth forever.
Yeah, it would be. It'd be pretty rough. But anyways, it was a good idea.
Yep. So once you do that, that is the end of that player's turn, and it moves to the next player, and they do all those steps, and just keeps going around. And then let's talk about the end of the game.
End of the game!
Alright, so the end of the game is triggered when the last card of the development deck is dealt into the development display at the end of a player's turn. When that happens, play is going to continue until the end of the round, and then once the round ends, one final round gets played. So if Mickey started and I am his opponent, it's a 2-player game. So if on Mickey's turn the last card's dealt, then I get a turn, and then after that is the end of the round, and then the next round is Mickey and then me.
And then that's it?
Yep. If it was my turn that it got dealt, then at the end of that turn, it's the end of the round, so it's just Mickey and then me. So, and then once the last player's turn is complete, you are going to score all your points that you've acquired in the game. So what you are going to do is you get 1 point for every knowledge card you that you have.
Right.
Yeah, you're going to combine.
You can't get skunked unless you get rid of the knowledge card in your deck.
Right.
But you can sometimes you can archive whatever you want. So.
Yep. You get 2 points for every wonder card that you have, and we're talking about you would combine your city, your deck, and your discard and look.
Oh yeah, you look through everything. So as many of these cards as you have,
yep.
2 points.
Cultural policies that you have developed.
So all of these that you flip over.
Yep, you get 2 points for.
2 points.
And then the last thing is every province you control, you get 1 point.
So that means anything that I have my figures on, because again, this isn't a game where enemies sit on the same space. So you just look at the board and you count your spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Whoa, I kicked Jeb's butt. I got 6. He's got nothing.
Yep. And then after you get your total for all of that, there are some bonuses, which is called dominance in this game. So the player to have the highest in each of those 4 categories gets an additional 3 points. So if you have the most knowledge cards, the most provinces, the most wonders, and the most cultural policies, then you get 3 extra points for each one of those. And then if 2 or more players are tied for it, then they each receive 3 full points for it. So it's not like it just cancels out that category.
Gotcha.
And then after that, the player with the most points wins.
Are there tiebreakers?
Tiebreaker is player with the most gold remaining. If it's still a tie, the most culture remaining. And if it's still a tie, you're crazy. No, it's everybody shares a victory. And that's everything on how to play. The only other thing in the rulebook is there is like an automa. I don't know how you pronounce it, like automatic or whatever mode. It's like a module where it's like a fake player.
Yeah.
So, and we aren't really going to go into that or the heroes module.
No. I did read the heroes real quick, and it sounds super simple. It's almost like throw them into the game and go.
Okay.
So it wasn't. It didn't seem very, very complicated at all. I did read through the section real quick. We aren't going to play with heroes. I know that a lot of times we do try to play a different variation of a game. This was too new for us, so we pretty much played it straight up.
If you want to see heroes, request it.
Yeah, we'll make you guys request seeing the heroes played. But hopefully most of that made sense. If it didn't, as I usually say, just watch a few minutes of the gameplay. Hopefully this stuff will be like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing there. I mean, mechanically, it's really, really simple once you've... Gosh, I don't even know if it's more than 2 turns that it takes you to...
Yeah, it's just remembering or trying to figure out everything you want to do.
So, both Jeb and I almost said immediately after first game, simple to learn, hard to master, because there is a ton of stuff going on in this thing.
Yep.
But simply, really, it's just a lot. It's really, pretty well put together. So anyways, that's how you play. Hopefully you'll watch at least some of the gameplay, and then tune in for the review, and we'll give you our thoughts on Monumental.